Well, all right. Now let me try to answer it. First of all, my personal relationship with Elvis. Elvis and I were great friends. I took him with me on my tours. In fact, the first big tour, I think, that long before he had his popular records, uh, I did a tour with Hank Snow, and we started in Omaha, Nebraska, and we did something like 3 weeks together. Became very close. Elvis and I were very close friends. In fact, I don't know the last few years of his life, but he always said Bill Haley was his favorite singer, and he was my favorite singer. That was the type of relationship we had. Uh, Elvis learned an awful lot from a lot of other people. He was the first one to admit this. But as far as being the forerunner of rock and roll, Elvis wasn't. He was the banner. He carried the banner for us. I think after Bill Haley faded a bit from the top, while Elvis, of course, picked up the banner and became the king of rock and roll, and was acclaimed to be. And I think had he gone out on tours more, I think that it would have been better. This is just my personal opinion because everyone loved him and wanted to see him. But I think he was misguided, and I've said this many times, by the people around him. And of course, there was all those years that he just wouldn't leave Hollywood and just wouldn't go out.
He made those awful films.
And but I feel that I loved the man as a person, and he was a very close friend of mine till the day he died. And I can only speak well of him. Does that answer you, mind, Dominic?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dominic, for calling. And with me is Bill Haley. 3538111 is the telephone number. It's just after 12:30 on LBC.
But the next time that I saw her, reminded her of what she said, reminded her of what she said, reminded her of what she said.
Well, I suppose that comes with getting on a bit, doesn't it, Bill?
Excuse me for the hiccups, yes.
That's Bill Haley and the Comets, and if you've just joined us on LBC, Bill Haley is with me today. He's actually here because, guess what, he's on tour. I'll give you a couple of dates in just a moment, but we've kept Chris waiting on the telephone to talk to Bill Haley. Hello, Chris.
Hello. I'd just like to ask Mr. Haley what he thinks of sort of new wave punk, sort of bands like, say, Tom Robinson, the Sex Pistols, so on and so forth, and also what he thought of violence that was seemed to associate with rock and roll teddy boys, like razor blades and behind the lapels and so on and so forth.
We'll deal with those two separately, haven't we? Let's do the violence bit first, in association with all the euphoria that surrounded you when you were really at the top.
Well, of course, it's pretty hard to answer a question like that because, first of all, I'm against violence of any kind, and I would always have to say, as I've always said, that I didn't like it then, I don't like it now. However, we didn't experience too much of that in my time. There was a lot of publicity, and as you know, sensationalism and some little incident can oftentimes be blown up into a thing a lot larger than life. But I think for the amount of millions of young people that we had that listened to the music, danced to it, and bought records and what have you, that the incidents were comparatively few. But in answer to your question, I don't like that, and I'm sure other people do not like it, and I deplore it, in fact.
Right now, the other question was to do with your view of some of the groups, such as some of those mentioned. I'm not sure how familiar you are with some of the bands, which are certainly big here.
Well, I'm not really too familiar with them. I've heard the music. Some of them play very good music. And of course you have to realize in show business that the groups are always searching for an image, one that will help them along with their career. I don't agree with the most of the things that are, let's say, vulgar, things that are offensive to people. I, however, cannot put down any of the groups because I know each one of them are trying very hard in their own way to make it in the business. So, but I would say that we personally have always tried to stay away from. We tried to aim our music at happiness, dancing, and lyrics that are kind of repetitious that people can sing. And however, I've never been one to put down other groups. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, what I meant was, like most of the bands, okay, we'll excuse the Sex Pistols because they are quite offensive to most people, not to me. But bands like, say, Tom Robinson with Glad to Be Gay, bands like other people that's trying to promote racial harmony and not racial hatred, and, you know, if you listen to the words of most of the bands, I find with most new wave bands, their words are more important than their music or their image. You know, they're all trying to promote racial harmony and sexual harmony as well. And, you know, that I don't know. Have you...
Yeah, in other words, what you're saying is that some of the groups now, those that you've mentioned, are actually putting across a message as well as entertaining.
More
Yeah.
so.
What do you think of that, Bill?
Well, of course, this is not new. We've all the way from Bob Dylan and people like this, we've had people with message tunes, and I feel that if it's good, if the messages are good, and as you say, for racial harmony and sexual harmony and for harmony of any kind, of people getting along in the world, I'm all for it. I think it's very good.
Okay, there we are. Chris, thank you very much for calling. 353-8111 if you'd like to talk to my guest, Bill Haley. 12 and a half minutes to 1. If you've been a Bill Haley fan, or if you've just become a Bill Haley fan, you'll be interested to know that Bill Haley will be giving a concert at the Rainbow Theatre on St. Patrick's Day, Saturday the 17th of March. That's in London, of course. There'll be also concerts in Southgate at the Royalty on the 8th, and that is tomorrow night, at Bournemouth on the 18th, and at Bristol on the 11th. But of course, Londoners will be particularly interested in the London date, which is the 17th at the Rainbow Theatre. Now, Helene calling from Queensway to talk to Bill Haley. Hello.
Hello, Brian. Good morning, Mr. Haley.
Good morning, Helene.
Good to have you back.
All right, thank
I'm
you.
laying in bed here with the flu and with my ear sort of half asleep to the radio all the morning.
Yes.
When your music almost shot me out of bed, it was fantastic, wonderful. I think it's lovely. Years ago when I was in show business, music starts off with the blues, goes back to the deep south. It all comes back. It doesn't stand still, even to the punk rock, to the way out music of today. It all takes a turn, disappears, and then you get the other stuff coming back again. And yours will always be there because it's pure heaven to listen to.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. I'm very sorry to hear you're not feeling well.
Oh, that's all right. But it's got that rhythm, you know, which I think everybody understands. It's like classical music. That will never disappear because it's got something. But your type of music will always be played because it makes your feet clap.
Well, I think you answered it a moment ago when you said you were in bed and feeling bad, and then all of a sudden you heard it, and I hope it picked you up a little bit.
Really did, and all good luck to your concert.
Well, thank you very much, dear.
Thanks, Helene. 353-8111 if you'd like to talk to Bill Haley. Before we take the next call, and by the way, there's still a chance for you to call in, 353-8111. What do you feel like when people call you Mr. Haley and they say your music is lovely? I mean, I don't seem to recall talking about it like that in the days when it was on the top of every music chart.
Well, you feel, well, I feel great, and naturally I like to hear things like that, but the main thing is that the message, I think, is the same, whether no matter what language they use, and that is that that's our reason for playing the music, is because we want to spread joy, happiness, good feeling, dancing, pick people up when they've got the blues, and if we're doing that, then we're doing our job.
Right. But you're very respectable now, aren't you? I'm not suggesting you were not respectable before, but I'm suggesting that the music had a certain image at the time, which of course it doesn't have now. Other people have taken that over. And that's what I meant, you know, when people call you Mr. Haley, it's terribly respectful.
Well, naturally, we like to feel that the music has gained some respect, because it hasn't been all bad. There have been bad and good in the music, I suppose, but basically I think it's done a good job over the years.
If we hear you at the Rainbow tomorrow night, is there actually going to be tomorrow night? The Royalty tomorrow night, the Rainbow on the 17th.
Yeah.
Will it sound different from the record we just heard?
No, I don't think so, Brian. One thing we try to do is to keep that sound, because the people come. We find on the tours down through the years, we try new things, and of course, we find they don't want to hear them. They remember the movies, the era, the thing that started the rock and roll era, and they want to hear the things that they see on television and they hear in the movies and hear over their favorite disc jockey radio show. And so these are the things that we give them, and we try to keep it as close to the original sound as we can.
But you don't do anything new at all?
Oh yes, well we always have some new that we put in, you know, but basically the show has to remain as they remember it.
What's new with you now then?
Well, this trip we'll be doing 4 or 5 new tunes on the show. One is a tune called Me and Bobby McGee, which is not a new tune, but it's going to be re-released here, and The basic new thing this trip is I'm using 4 British musicians that are 4 very fine young musicians from England, and we wanted to try that this time because we have many friends here, and while we brought some of our original group with us, we felt we would try that this time and see how it worked out.
So we've got a sort of a new British version of the Comets.
Yes.
Okay, on the phone next is Daniel, who's called in from Stanmore. Hello, Daniel.
Hello. Can I speak to Mr. Haley, please?
Go ahead.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you a question. Out of the albums that you made, which one did you enjoy doing the most?
The album that I enjoyed doing the most. Well, now that's a tough one to pick, but I think we did an album for Sonnet, and it's called "Rockin' Around the Country." And basically, I think way down deep inside, I still am a country musician and or a country entertainer, or a lot of it has remained with me through the years, and I enjoyed that because we recorded it in Nashville, and there's some very good tunes in the album.
Okay, thanks very much.
Before you go rustling off, what did you enjoy most of the albums?
I like Rock Around the Clock most.
Yes, you go right back to that, do you?
Yes.
No further?
I haven't got all of the albums. I've got a few of them.
Yeah.
That's the one that I enjoy most of all.
Yeah. And do you like music from what we could call the rock and roll era better than the pop music that's around now?
Yeah, I like rock and roll. It's my favourite type of music.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Daniel. You're coming here to do a few concerts. Are you continually engaged in concerts, or is this something you pick up and do occasionally?
Well, Brian, this is like a comeback for me. It's kind of a long tale, but I'll make it short. I had a very dear friend of mine, Rudy Pompili, was my tenor saxophone player. Rudy had been with me for over 20 years, and unfortunately, 2.5 years ago, Rudy passed away of cancer, and it was like I kind of lost my right arm, and I just put the guitar down and didn't do anything. Without the spirit and without having Rudy with me, I'm sure a lot of people can understand how I felt about it. Just recently, of course, you can't do something as many years as I did and not miss it, and I felt that something was missing in my life, and so I started once again writing songs and what have you, and doing a few odd shows and TV shows and what have you, and then I got together with Patrick Mellin, and he convinced me that I should get back into the thick of things. So this really is the start again for me.
When you're not in the thick of things, what are you doing?
Well, a variety of things. I do a lot of sport fishing and have a couple of ranches down in Mexico, and a couple of fruit ranches, I should say. I don't want people to think of the horse and kind of the cowboy and what have you. Also, I have a motel trailer park business, so I keep quite active, you know.
You sound very much like a respectable businessman to me.
Well, I would say so, yes.
Well, in conclusion, can I say, first of all, thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Brian.
Enjoy your stay, and a reminder of those dates again, particularly the London date. Bill Haley will be at the Rainbow Theatre, which is Finsbury Park, on Saturday the 17th of March. You'll remember that because it's St. Patrick's Day. Other dates to remember: tomorrow night at the Royalty in Southgate, that's the 8th, at Bournemouth on the 10th, and at Bristol on the 11th. And the few tracks we've played on the programme today, including the one you're about to hear, come from an MCA album, which is called simply Bill Haley, and it includes some of the major hits of that rock and roll era, including this one.